looking back to assess their shortcomings and their strong points in order to give the citizens of the state a happy new year. Now, as Bengaluru authorities look back at the year that passed, the crime statistics of Bengaluru are a shock to many. Now, Bengaluru witnessed a significant increase in crimes against women in 2023, with the city police here registering over 3,000 cases, including 1,035 cases of molestation alone. Now, which is double, of course, in comparison to 2021, just 2 years earlier. Now, rape cases have also seen a sharp rise. This is 176 now that has been reported in 2023, whereas 116 were registered in 2021. Now, on the other hand, dowry-related deaths saw a decline. Now, with 26 cases that were reported in 2021, the number of cases increased to 29 in 2022, before a slight drop to 25 cases in 2023. Now, in terms of the overall data on crimes in city of Bengaluru, they've recorded a significant increase in the crimes in 2023, reaching a total of 68,518. This is in comparison to just 46,187 back in the year 2022. The spike in the number of cases can be attributed really to the sharp uptick in the people actually going ahead and registering these cases, which was up by almost 50% last year. So let's open this up, discuss it with a panel of guests who are joining us today. Dr. Sudha Halkai from the BJP is with us. Shyam Prasad Meka, political analyst. Nirmal Kaur, she's a former IPS officer, is also with us. Brinda Adige, activist. Let me take it to the police officer first. Nirmal Kaur, when you see, a rise like this, how do you really analyze this sort of a data? Because in a city like Bengaluru, time and again emphasis is laid on the safety of women. Here, 55% rise in molestation incidents itself in the year 2023. Do we look at this as an alarming trend, or are the cases being reported more ardently at this point in time? Are police stations becoming more friendly towards women? Is this why we are looking at a spike?
Certainly, the women's safety is of utmost importance, and a lot of emphasis is being laid on it, and awareness campaigns are being run. Police is also being sensitized to be, more welcoming or more receptive to women. So it could well be that more women are coming out and reporting when earlier they were not very keen on reporting, because they would have said, "Oh, it's one more, the one more trouble after the trouble I've already undergone." So they wouldn't even come out and report a case like molestation. So I think it could be both. It could be that cases are rising up, and women are unsafe wherever they go. They are being groped in crowded areas. They are being they are being molested. So certainly that is rising in the society. That trend is rising, but also women are becoming more aware, and also perhaps they want to stand their ground more firmly, and they come out and report these cases, and they are able to often bring the offender with them. They catch hold of the offender and bring it over to the police station, which is a very, very welcome sign. That very welcome thing that women are aware, and they are not. Earlier they were helpless victims. Now they are going out, being proactive, catching them, and even when they are reporting molestation, often they are, of course, they are naming them, and also they also bring the culprit along with them. So that is one thing we are seeing, which is a very good trend in metros at least. And the reporting could well be,
Okay.
I think, I can't say without a deeper analysis, but it could well be that it is happening because more women are getting aware and more women are reporting. Crime pehle bhi hota tha. Maybe the crime was taking place earlier also, but women were not coming out and reporting. Now they are coming out. They are sure. They are standing on firmer ground. So it is a very welcome thing, and that way they can.
Okay, Brinda Adige is also with us. She, of course, consistently is working on the ground, helping multiple women in various cases where, of course, they do not probably find help. Brinda, how do you really read this pattern? Because you've been on the ground, you've worked with multiple women, of course, who've been victims themselves. When you see this sort of a rise, how do you read it?
First and foremost, we have to place on record that women are unsafe, and this is across India in all the metros. 1. 2, yes, there are more cases that are being reported, and like Madam pointed out, it is the awareness and also possibly the police becoming more aware and sensitive to registering these cases. Now, what happens to these cases is another story altogether. But we must be very conscious that a city like Bangalore and a state like Karnataka, which is everything is here. We are talking of the Silicon City, jobs are available. We are looking at streets and public spaces becoming more unsafe. When I say becoming unsafe, it is the feeling that people get that they are unsafe because the response mechanisms are not quick. There are, we may talk about the Nirbhaya CCTV cameras, but we do not know who's monitoring them, or if you call, will the response be immediate? So these are challenges. And what we need to ask ourselves today is, why are our cities becoming unsafe? And why is this feeling of not feeling safe increasing in women? And that the state has to respond to it. That said, I think we need to also place on record that crimes against women are even today not taken seriously by the state mechanisms and the powers that be.
Okay. Dr. Sudha Halkai, as far as the BJP is concerned, there has been a charge that you've been making that the Congress comes to power, there has been increases in the number of crimes against women or overall in crimes in general. But when you look at this trend, many experts would say that there's also can be attributed to more reporting, police stations becoming friendly, because before there used to be many cases that used to go unheard, and it's not as if now they are not. There are multiple cases still. But in a city like Bengaluru, at least to have police stations where women can go, express themselves, ensure that they get the right treatment, and they are not further victimized in the police stations, become important in terms of reporting a crime. So how is the BJP really looking at this sharp rise in 2023? Because you can't completely blame it on the Congress party, because the first half of the year it was the BJP that was in power.
Deepak, thanks to you and your team for this eye-opening debate which is the need of the hour, which shows the deep grave grievance of Karnataka today in a matter of law and order. Second thing, I will not buy your argument that the police department or the other departments have been fair enough in giving a free hand to the women and making it comfortable for them to register the cases. If you see the number of FIRs registered from last year to this year, it is almost more than 50%. That is 68,518 cases have been registered in Karnataka, criminal cases, I would like to mention about it, whereas 46,000 was there in the previous year. How would you justify this fact, you tell me, Deepak? Because it is not only about the women, it is about the whole of the crime which has been increased in Karnataka. And definitely the criminals are having a feel of a heaven sort of thing in Karnataka when the Congress government had come. And this time and again, Congress government has proved this. Earlier also, they had given a clean sheet to the PFI. 175 cases have been closed for the PFI. 1,600 activists of the PFI have been let free. And the same thing is happening now. Last month only, Dalit woman was inhumanly, it's very shameful for me to tell that, she was undressed and she was made to parade for 3 hours. And yesterday again, a woman in Belgaum her nose is cut off. Why are the people in Karnataka not having fear about the law and order? That is because the police government have been given a free hand. They have been, the prime duty of the police to protect the law and order have been redirected to collect the funds for the elections in the adjacent states. So the Karnataka government is absolutely non-functional.
Shyam Prasad Meka, your response to that?
See, it's unfortunately, we shouldn't go into that line of already blaming BJP, Congress and all that. I don't believe either BJP or Congress will go and tell to the criminals that, oh, we have a free hand, we are here. See, this is a childish arguments, typical political talk. Let's not do that. This is a serious issue. At least the Karnataka police have come up with the numbers. Let them go through, let them analyze that, and let the administration respond with sufficient measures. And also, you also mentioned that the crime reporting has improved. Oh, yes, I am very happy that women are being educated more. But the main point at the social level, what we need, it's not about educating women. Educate your boys, educate men to be humans. Okay. See, if that is enforced more, I think the crime rate, especially against women, will come down. Go back and talk to your children. Tell your boys that they don't have a right over any girl. That's the effort which the governments and social organizations need to do. This is a very early thing. We are just jumping up and down to do politics over it. No, please don't do that. Thank you.
Okay, I'll come back to Nirmal Kaur here. Another aspect that we wanted to really touch down upon, some of them, especially the politicians on the panel or the political analysts have a different take on the matter. But when you look at these sort of issues that are come up and these sort of statistics, there is I'm just going to touch down on the safety of women and the cases on the crimes against women that we've seen a rise in. You have the Nirbhaya funds that provide that are provided to various police stations where you can ensure that there are CCTVs. There are various other measures that can be taken to ensure that the women feel more safe. But even then, can you really correlate the number of cases that are reported to the police to the number of cases that are solved? And more importantly, despite having so much funding year after year, many of the politicians coming out with these statements that they will prioritize safety of women, looking at this sort of a rise, 55% is not a small number. How do you really read through this and deal with this sort of a situation?
The police is definitely gearing up, and the society is more aware. Women themselves are more aware. But politics, you cannot totally leave politics out of it. I am sorry, I disagree with the political analyst here, because political patronage to this kind of behavior does matter. Because political patronage counts for a lot. Wherever you think that these kind of things one can get away easily, or a phone call will go to the thana the moment this happens, all this matters. And so
Exactly.
the attitude matters.
But more than
Exactly.
that, don't you think, Ms. Kaur, that and the measures that are taken by each government as well comes into the picture here to reduce the crime rate overall?
Deepak,
Yes,
is there an emergency task team formed by the
so politics
Karnataka
does play a
government
big
after all
role.
this?
The thing is that Nirbhaya Fund allocates a huge amount to everyone. But, in following up how that money is being spent, how efficiently it is being spent, and how well the technology that you bring in is being monitored and leveraged. We buy a lot of technology, but we don't know how to leverage it properly to administer it into our justice system, into our, prevention system, prevention of crime, or maintenance of law and order, or enhancing of feeling of safety amongst women. That leverage somehow is not, I would say 100%. Often it is about 20, 30, 40%, which is not a very happy scenario. Funds alone cannot do much. It's also the intention and the intention of the society. Also, there's a large, this thing, to look at it as a police problem. It is a social problem. So the whole society as a body has to come forward and tackle these crimes and not have different views on, a crime is a crime. A woman's respect, a woman's dignity, whatever government change may be, that has to be protected at all hours, at all costs. It's a non-negotiable, a very sacrosanct area where politics should not enter. And I feel, that all the expenditure that we are doing, there should be an audit that it is done. The Nirbhaya Fund or all other funds that come for safety of women, they should be spent in a manner that they maximize the outcome for the safety of women, which is not happening at present in my view.
Okay, Brinda, coming back to you on a couple of points that Sudha Halkai as well mentioned that, I don't want you to get into the politics part of it, but what I want to really ask is, we had Mr. Meka as well go on to say that we should leave politics out of it, especially when you deal with crimes against women. The intent of each political party, each government makes a big difference, doesn't it?
I completely agree with you. The intent is very important. And there was partly touched by a madam over there. You have the funds. You also spoke about the enormous amounts of funds that have come from Nirbhaya. But you look at the intent, almost majority of the fund is spent on technology, which is very important, and infrastructure. But there is one clause over there that says no vehicle can be utilized by the One-Stop Crisis Center to go and intervene if there is a problem that has come up over there. So the funds, talking about technology and infrastructure is fine, but here we are talking about investing in man, woman, human power. Because if you don't invest in that, you don't monitor it, there is no education, there is no awareness, there is no coordination and convergence between all the parties, then there result that we are looking at, the impact that we want is not there. And talking about women's safety, everybody talks about it more like speeches and lip service. But when it comes to brass tacks, we rarely see something like this materializing at the execution level. A simple example over here. We are talking so much about our public transport. The last mile connectivity is not there. So the public space that we are talking about, safety in the public space, is a big question. Domestic violence, we don't look at it as a criminal offense. The law also doesn't look at it. Where is the immediate response? How do we respond to violence against women, whether it is by their relatives or it is by strangers or whatever it might call? That mindset has to change, which means political parties must be loud enough to talk about it, both from the point of mindset as well as point of putting structures and mechanisms in place.
Okay, I'm going to take this back to Sudha Halkai because Sudha, you did mention about, we were just talking about the intent of each and every government here and the political parties. I want to remind you some statistics. In 2019, just 7% of the Nirbhaya funds that was allocated was being used. And that time it was the BJP very much, there in power. So, and I'm not going to again get into I don't want to get into this tug of war between the Congress and the BJP, but I'm reminding you that this was a responsibility of every government to ensure that when there are funds that have been allocated, usage of that funds is important and essential because it ensures to some degree safety of women, isn't it?
Deepak, one thing I would like to tell you, we shouldn't forget that Rajasthan, which was led by the Congress government in the past, they had proved their inefficiency in protecting the interest and safeguarding the women over there. And look what has happened. The people of Rajasthan have just thrown the Congress government out of power. And now in Karnataka, just this week...
Okay, let's not go into other states and cities. Today's data is from Bengaluru. Let's limit our discussion to this. We have just about a minute. So let's summarize quickly.
No. Car Sevak. Just a minute. Give me time.
This is a typical
case
political
Car Sevak
talk.
was reopened 31 years back. Case is reopened, and look, the Women and Child Welfare Minister is from Belgaum district, and again a inhuman crime has taken place just yesterday, and just below the nose of the Suvarna Sauda, the incident of the Dalit woman had taken place. Why are these people not giving instructions to the police department to maintain the law and order? Where the woman in Karnataka is protected, you tell me.
Look at the 17-year-old
Absolutely, there is collapse of
very
law
quickly,
and order.
Mr. Meka, this became more political very quickly.
Talk about
Mr. Meka, quick response. I have about 30 seconds.
Political. It is the safety of the woman. It is the safety of the woman. I don't take it political.
Yeah, unfortunately.
No, but what I asked you was that in 2019 it was the Nirbhaya funds where the usage was just a mere 7%. And I'm talking about the intent and the political intent here. Well, there are crimes, of course, that can be committed by these criminals. Of course, the intent on dealing with these crimes makes a big difference. But more importantly, of course, when you have money where you can use it to prevent crimes, that also falls in the same bracket as intent. Mr. Meka, respond to that, please.
Yeah, I'm saying the intent and dikhawa baji can be done by politicians and governments because that only they can address only after the fact and they can act as a check. While that is good, I'm telling you, the important thing is this. See, how will you prevent these crimes? These criminals, you said. There is no such a class of people like criminals sitting out there waiting for women. We are growing our children. We are growing these boys into men who doesn't respect women, who take them for granted. That's where we need to address.
Right,
That's
Mr. Meka. Unfortunately, I'm really short on time, but I think your point is very valid. Some of them made that earlier as well. Educating men, the boys as well, becomes very important, and hopefully we see this we don't see this sort of a spike in the cases in the coming years, and the police and the governments do enough for the safety of women and the general citizens in the state of Karnataka and the city of Bengaluru. With that, I thank all our panelists. On the other side, a Mirror Now special broadcast coming up. Stay with us.